What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade, basketball analysis, coming to y'all with a quick video. Tonight we're going to talk about Wendell Carter Jr., an intricate piece to the Nikola Vucevic trade. This is a guy that I liked it a lot. He has some Al Horford, in my personal opinion, in him, being able to set screens, get guys space, while also being able to potentially hit outside shots, being able to switch on the perimeter on wings and bigs in the paint while also being able to be a good teammate. This is a guy that brings energy. This is a guy that plays hard. And seeing him in Orlando having more success than he had in Chicago, I know he had a lot of injuries, and it's unfortunate because it's part of the game that we have to accept. But I really like what he does, and I like what he brings to the table. And I'm not saying that Wendell Carter is going to be a superstar in Orlando. I'm not saying that they have found gold with Wendell Carter, but he has such a good balance to his game, and it's important to be able to know what you are and what you're about and what you're trying to do, especially when you're coming into the NBA and you have to start all over and prove yourself all over again. But what I will say is, with the right team and the right talent around him, and the coach allowing him to spread his wings a little bit, allowing him to do a little bit more than he was able to do in Chicago, sometimes it is coaching. Sometimes it's personnel. Sometimes you just don't fit with personnel or the coach, or y'all just not on the same page, or, you know, they're just not for you because of how the style is for that particular team. But it is good to see him have success. It is good to see his minutes stay around the same, but he's producing more efficiently, scoring more points, getting more rebounds, and he hasn't really got a huge amount of opportunity. But seeing that he has made progress since leaving Chicago is just something that I'm happy about. And I'm very happy that he was able to do it. But in my personal opinion, when I look at a guy like Wendell Carter, you need these type of guys on your team. You need the leadership. You need a guy that can pick you up when you're down. You need a guy that go to war with you. You need a guy that you can trust and depend on. And I feel like for him to be 22, he has shown that in college and he has shown that throughout Chicago. It's just now with him finding the team that wants him, finding the team that will allow him to do more things that he wasn't able to do in Chicago, maybe we can see Wendell Carter take another leap and literally be a legitimate starter in this league, but also a difference maker. Being 22 and still trying to figure things out is tough and it's going to be difficult. I like the coach that they had. I always was a fan of his, and he is a defensive minded coach, and he is a guy that can help Wendell because he was drafted for his potential as being a solid center at the defensive end, and he hasn't lived up to that so far in his NBA career. But hopefully, he can continue to build upon the habits that he's forming in Orlando and in the future. And they needed a big because if you get rid of Vucevic and you're not really liking what you're getting out of Mo Bamba, and the fact that he can play with Mo Bamba because he's a 7 footer that can stretch the floor, which I'm talking about Mo Bamba, they can play on the same court. He's still not strong enough and his shot is not consistent enough to be dangerous right now. But when you look at Orlando, they're at the bottom of the East for a reason. They rebuilt, they retanked to go in a different direction. They was going nowhere. They was making the playoffs. They was being a fun team to the fans, but we knew they wasn't going nowhere. We knew that they wasn't going to get a big free agent, and their best chance to get one is obviously drafting a superstar in the draft because they don't look like they're going to be able to get one any other way unless they take a gamble on a young guy and they build and become one. But one of the biggest problems with Orlando is they have had trouble developing young guys, and they have shined more outside of Orlando than they have in Orlando. But they still do have a lot of raw talent when you look at Fultz and Bamba and even Wendell Carter, and the fact that they have Isaac and a lot of other guys that do need more minutes and do need more playing time because they have an enormous upside if they can reach their potential. Orlando could be dangerous, especially depending on where they get in the lottery and where they get this draft. There's a lot of young guys that have athleticism and scoring ability and can play multiple positions that's in this draft that can give them two-way upside, but also dominant offensive production. And I knew Vucevic was great, but he wasn't a two-way player. He was a guy that was a great teammate that can extend and play better in a role, but he also wasn't the certain guy that you would definitely need to build forward. So to me, getting a restart and trying to be more fresh, trying to find a different angle to take this team in is the right decision. I feel like they should have blew it up earlier just because they was heading towards mediocrity, and that's what they ended up doing, and that was their ceiling. And to me, it was hurting a lot of the fans because you want to see your team win, but you also know that you don't have hope of doing anything significant with the cost of trying to win now. And that's the problem with a lot of teams. If you're not going to be able to put a great team together, you're better off just losing because at least you get a shot at a guy that can help you become better in the future. You just have to do your part, but by getting them and putting the right things around them to be successful. But seeing Wendell Carter take this stride and be more positive, because sometimes a change of scenery is what you need. Sometimes you need a wake up. Sometimes you need that chip on your shoulder. Sometimes you need to get pushed down a little bit to wake yourself up and know you got to go harder, knowing that you're replaceable, knowing that you can be out of the league. And even though he is a talented player, I don't think that's going to happen to him now. But getting traded let him know that you're going in a different direction, and we felt like you was going to be the answer. But within 2 years, which is very, very quick, they went in a different direction, and at least he was wanted by another team. But having another guy that doesn't need the ball, doesn't demand the ball, isn't trying to get attention, but can do multiple things to help guys make a lot of people's jobs easier, is definitely what you want when you're trying to build a starting lineup. And he can do a lot of those things, and he have the mentality for those things. So I'm enjoying seeing what he do in Orlando. It gives you a lot of skepticism with this team just because they have so many guys that you want to see do well, you think can do well, and you think that they will be very good in the future, but we just have to see how it plays out. A lot of these guys are all around the same age, so that makes it even better for them because it gives them a future that, you know, seems brighter. And sometimes you got to sell your fans on hope just because you give them something to believe in and something to look forward to. And that's something that they really didn't have to me the last 3 to 5 years. And it's something that they actually have now. Um, the worst part to me is the fact that they ended up taking a big blow with major injuries. You don't want to see your young guys go through major injuries like they had to core pieces of their nucleus and the pillar of what they're trying to build in Orlando future wise. But other than that, this could be something that can be special if things click and everything goes well. But they got a handful. It's going to be painful to watch because of the mistakes and because of the failures and because of being terrible. But, you got to look at it from the perspective that we're trying to build something better and bigger than what we did before. And this is the start of it. And it's not going to be pretty. We're not going to watch it and we're not going to love it all the time. But this is what you have to do if you want to be special in the NBA. And the best part about it is they picked the right draft to be bad. And even if they're bad next year, you have another great draft to be bad and get a potential superstar. So it's not as bad as you think if you're an Orlando fan. The biggest problem that they're gonna have is having a lot of young talent and not knowing which ones to keep, not knowing which ones to give the minutes to, and not knowing which ones they want to keep around long term. But, you know, that's part of the game. That's part of being a GM. And that's part of building something build something special. You got to take gambles, you got to take risks, and you also got to take losses. That's just part of being successful, and that's just part of building something special. Um, and that's just how it goes. Other than that, let me know what you guys think about Wendell Carter. Is he a role player, all-star, superstar, or are you just happy to see him thriving in a new situation and playing the basketball that we expected him to do? He still has upside. He still can be better than he is right now. But Wendell Carter is a guy that you want on your team. This is a guy that you want to go to war with. And Orlando has that part figured out now since they got him. Now it's just about putting the right pieces and getting that star that can bring everything together and get them going in the right direction. Other than that, Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis, I'm gone, and I'll be back to y'all with another video on Wednesday.